I am your host, Carrie Scollin, giving us different perspectives on where we are and where we want to go on our journey. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to spending some time with you. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Founder Series. We are doing a whole series of podcasts on the authors in our new book that we just released February 1st. It's called Beautiful Chaos, Embracing the Unexpected. And I have one of the beautiful authors here. Heather, welcome to the show. I'm so thrilled that you're here. I wanted to get into some deeper conversations about your chapter so that when people have read it, they can come to the podcast and hear a bit more insights into where you were, the mindset you were in when you wrote, and really what you wanted the reader to get out of your chapter. So welcome to the show.
Thanks to be here.
I'm so excited you were here. It is, for the women that have joined the Lighthouse Project series, it's such an honor to be in this book with so many incredible women who are courageous enough really to share a piece of their story. I mean, I know it's only a chapter. How did you find that process? Was it hard for you to narrow it down to what you wanted to write about? Because you've got so many life experiences, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how do I put that in one chapter?
Well, I start my chapter with the story, the anecdote of growing up around our family table, where my mom would say, "Okay, so what good deed did you do today?" And we'd go around the table. There were 4 children in our family. We would all tell the good deed that we did. And that just became kind of routine, what we did. And, as I found out, most families are not like that. Most families say, what did you do at school today? Or what did you learn? Or, all those other things. But no, my family was not normal. We like, what good deed did you do today? So that's something that has impacted me my whole life, and that has affected how I am in the world.
Yeah.
And over time, I think, that is always stuck in the back of my head. However, I began to put a lot of pressure on myself to do good, be good all the time, and keep doing more and more and more. And, in my mind, I'm thinking, I've had the privilege of a loving family, of having food on my table, all these things. So, I better do good.
Right.
And it became not natural anymore, not sort of not out of a place of love, but out of a place of guilt, that I was just making decisions around how I acted in the world.
And that's a heavy responsibility that you put on yourself, especially when you were surrounded by people that did it all the time, right? You were raised like that.
Yeah.
Was there ever conversations around that table where you hadn't done a good deed that day and you had to try and think of something? Or was it just automatic that you would look for things so that you had something to bring back to the table?
Yeah.
Every night.
And even during the day, I say, "Oh, this could be my mention tonight.
Yeah.
This could be my good deed for the day."
and incredible. So something that started off so innocent, right? Like, I mean, what a beautiful, what a beautiful question. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And then it's society, it's culture, it's yourself, it's the pressure that you put on. And like you touched on the privilege part. But when is it ever enough?
Right.
And just to be able to step back and go, you know what, sometimes just being a good person is enough. That's kindness for the world. Like, I think I've really leaned into that, is all of us are here to make a difference in one way or another. But by you being happy, raising beautiful girls who are contributing members of society, you've got a loving relationship with your husband, like that in itself is making the world a better place. And the pressure is incredible what we put on ourselves. But I would love for you to touch a little bit on almost that guilt that you had for having so much.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like,
And and Brené Brown calls it foreboding joy,
mhm,
right? That worrying about worrying about having good things in your life, and
yeah,
that eventually, the other shoe's going to drop and
right,
something bad will happen.
yeah,
Um and so then you miss out
yeah,
on that that really wonderful joy because you're
yes.
worrying that something bad is going to happen,
Yes, I think
right?
she mentions that in the book. I know one part of it that I read from her was the thought of like a newborn baby. Like you bring that baby home and you're just looking at them and you're just like you're just so in love and there's so much joy and then this fear creeps in
Hmm.
and you're so scared. And then so you miss out on that this beautiful little person because you're so scared that something's going to happen. So
Yeah,
it actually robs you from feeling that way. So that foreboding joy is so true.
yeah,
Like it's relevant to I think a lot of people that this is too good to be true.
yeah,
Something's got to happen. Like I can't possibly be deserving of this much goodness.
right. Yeah. So I've been trying to live in a place of gratitude, right? So when
Hmm.
I feel those things,
Hmm.
I um, really just hunker down and I'm grateful for whatever the goodness is that's in my life at that moment.
Yeah,
And I find if I can focus on that and not the fear or the
right,
guilt,
right.
then I can experience the joy and the good
Yeah.
things.
And
Yeah.
that would you say, I mean, a lot of that really is bringing yourself back to the present moment of right now. Like
Hmm.
this is what we have right now in front of
Yeah.
us and to experience that. You touched on quite a few things in your chapter really for it only being a chapter. You talked about your time in El Salvador.
Hmm.
Um, and that really opened your eyes as a child. Or how old were you?
I was 11 when I went to
Okay,
El
so
Salvador,
so
but
young.
young, but it
Yeah.
really affected me
Hmm.
realizing, the disparity between those that have and have not.
Yeah.
And and then it's like, oh, okay, well then I want to change the world. I want to do all these great
Yes.
things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But really, it's the little hummingbird doing
Hmm.
one drop at a time on the ferocious
Yeah.
fire, doing what we can in that moment at that time, and giving
Yes.
ourselves grace to say, oh, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
At this moment, that's enough.
Yeah.
And to take that guilt and pressure, oh, it's such a relief, right? To know
Hmm. Yeah.
it's really freeing actually when you
Hmm.
for me to have that sense, okay, right now I'm doing what I can in this moment at
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah. And there's a lot you've had, I mean, you've had a life of giving. I mean, you've done a lot. I also don't think you give yourself nearly as much credit
Well, thank you.
as you should because you've really made a difference in look at all the students that have passed through your grace. I
And
mean,
I feel
really,
really privileged to have had a life as an educator.
yes.
That's been an
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
experience.
I mean, if there was
Um,
somewhere where you could make a big difference, it's with the children, for
mhm,
sure. And you put yourself in that
yeah,
position so that you could do that.
yeah.
Like,
And another book that I mentioned, because of course, as a teacher, I
mhm,
love books.
yeah,
Um, The Five People You Meet in Heaven by
yes,
Mitch Albom, right?
yeah,
Like you
yes,
you actually have no idea the effect
yeah,
or what difference you can make.
yeah,
And sometimes you don't even know. There's
yeah,
another good children's book called Because. It's this one here. I always have this one with me by Mo Willems. And it's called Because. And it's so one thing happens, and then because that one thing happens, and one
mm,
other thing happens, and because that one other thing happens, another thing happens. And you never know
yeah,
what piece you play in that puzzle.
absolutely. The ripple effect that goes
Yeah,
out so far.
so far.
So in that, I love that you brought that up because do you think it's just a knowing that you've done what you can, you continue to do what you can do. Um, when somebody makes that with you, or somebody has done something to you that's made you feel that way, and then you turn around and do something, do you think it's really important to make sure that we tell those people? Or is it just something that it's just a knowing and it's not necessary?
Yeah, for me,
Would you?
it's just the knowing that
Yeah.
just, it's almost like the being,
Hmm.
like to be,
Yeah.
and just how you are in the world, you
Hmm.
just are. And
Yeah.
you can put out energy that's positive,
Yeah.
or you can put out energy that's negative.
Yeah. And
So
that's your contribution.
yeah, so I feel if my energy is positive,
Yeah.
um, then then the chance of that positivity being passed on in a
Hmm.
positive way
Hmm.
is greater,
Yeah.
right? Like if
And
I do something negative, the chances of a positive outcome of that later on is less than if I'm
right.
doing something positive,
Right.
right? So
And
it's
like
about
you
my
said, we're
energy.
never going to know who we touched in those moments. But I always just wonder, like, we may never know, but like if somebody has done something that's impacted me, I want them to know they did.
Hmm. I've been
So
starting to do that more and more,
yeah,
like
like,
being intentional about saying, you know, when you did this, this really made
yeah,
a difference for me. Thank you so much.
yes. I think it's such a beautiful, small little gesture that takes no time. It can just be a little note that you send. I think we need more of that, is
Hmm.
just acknowledging, because that may change their whole outlook. Maybe it was in that moment they just needed to hear something
Yeah.
and they didn't realize what that one little act that they did, what that meant to you. So if there was a movement that I would start, is like start reaching out to those people that made an impact in your life, small or big. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter. And I love that you talk about the hummingbird, because that is such to me, it was a real great visual
Hmm.
reminder, that it doesn't matter how big or how
Yeah.
small. It matters that you've done something,
Yeah.
that you've had that awareness that you do what you can, and that's
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
And that's my motto, is you're more than enough as is. So
Yeah.
just acknowledging that. And I mean, I read this thing. I'm really into, after we die, what
Mm.
happens when we go to heaven or wherever you believe that we go. But a lot of them is near-death experiences is what I'm talking
Mm.
about. And I've just been fascinated by them. I think since I did the training.
Mm.
But it's something that comes up with almost every single person that has a near-death experience, is something called a life review. Have you heard of this?
Mm.
It's like when we get there, we get an instant life review. And it's all of the interactions that we've had with everybody, but it's happened in like a second. But it
Mhm.
shows you your life in review and the ripple effect you made, whether it
Mm.
was something that you said, something that you did, but it shows you how many people you actually touched in your lifetime. And that's your life review.
Oh, that's super
I
interesting.
know. Like I was just like, and what it is all those moments. And the best way to think about it is what was my intention in anything that
Hmm.
we do, and any action that we take, or any words that we share? What is
Hmm.
my intention behind that? And I love that you talked about that, where if you're doing things out of obligation or guilt or, fear, whatever that is, what's the intention behind that?
Yeah.
And when you can bring your attention back to coming from a place of love, which I think, from what I understand in your chapter, you're getting to that place
Yeah.
of recognizing that, like, all of your actions are from that place of love, and
Yeah.
hoping that it helps.
Yeah.
But it's taken you a while to get there.
Yeah. And just to be cognizant of that yeah, actually it is coming from a place of love.
Hmm.
Um, and it really always has been,
Yeah.
even though I've put pressure on myself to
Yeah.
do, you know, big great things in this world and
Yeah.
change the education system and do
Yeah.
all these things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah.
But is
And
that something that the goalpost is always going higher? And have you realized that you don't need to keep
Yeah, no,
extending it.
I'm very content
I love that.
at this
Yeah.
space in my life.
Yeah.
The one story that I tell in the chapter is about this hypnotist that we went. So in high school, there we have these
Yeah.
events, right? And this hypnotist come. I think his name was Ravine. And of course, I got hypnotized, easy peasy. So I'm on stage doing all these crazy things. And at the end, when he's, taking us all out of it, he comes up and whispers in my ear and he says, "You're going to do great things." That's what he said to me. And so, like, thanks, buddy.
Great. Just
This
another
is what I don't need.
pressure. Exactly.
So, like, I'm like, well, why did he say that to me? Like, is there something? Does he know something I don't know? And then,
Yeah.
so I always heard that in my mind too,
Yeah.
all, growing up.
It's just
And
instilled in
okay,
you.
so I was always looking. So, what's that great thing that I'm supposed to
Yeah.
be doing
Yeah.
and
Am I
searching?
gonna, and am I gonna live up to that
Yeah,
expectation? Yeah.
yeah.
And now you've come to that place though
That,
now of the
that he probably
freedom
said
of
that to everybody in the circle.
and maybe or maybe not. But was it something you needed to hear or it was just like what that? Like who knows? And
I
that,
know. I was like 16.
yes. Oh my gosh. You never know with the plant or seeds that are planted, right?
I
Where
know.
that's actually going to end up coming
Yeah.
out. That's
Yeah.
so so that really, I mean, like I said, you did touch a lot on a lot of different things. Took, your girlfriend. I
Hmm.
love that part in the story that you just saw her for who she was, not what she looked like. That, I mean, that's love.
Yeah.
That to me is you're seeing her. You're
Hmm.
you're seeing her soul, really. You're just seeing that person that you love. So that was an interaction that you had that you touched on in the chapter, which I thought was beautiful and just a great example, right?
Just
Seeing
kindness
somebody.
coming out and
Yeah,
positivity and
yeah,
not intentionally trying to, fix things or make her feel better or do any of
hmm
those things, but just
yeah,
being honest and speaking from the heart,
yeah,
really.
absolutely. And you touched on losing your brother.
Hmm.
And I think that's enough. Heather, you got to write a book. Like you've got a whole book in you. This chapter is just not nearly enough for you. But I think what really touched me in that was the grief that people go through when they lose somebody so close to them. But you also had, because of the way you lived your life, you also had that knowing
Hmm.
that you did love him as
Yeah.
much as you could. Like, so there was a piece of you that didn't have that, or maybe it did. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that what a lot of people feel is, oh my gosh, I should have done more. I should have done this. I should have done that when you lose somebody. And you had that because you lived your life in that way where that helped you with your grieving process, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And, grieving is very different for everybody.
Hmm.
But I think for me, if I hadn't have been able to reflect back
Hmm.
and seen those moments of love and
Yeah.
kindness, I mean, of course, I
Gratitude.
wish I could have done more, or I could have
Right.
helped him, or
Yeah.
but I had to come to the acceptance and realization that I did what I could
Yeah.
at the time with what I knew.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, I don't, it wasn't on me to save him.
Right.
It was on me to be his kind sister that loved
Right.
him. And,
Yeah.
and just that helped me through the grieving process,
Yeah.
being able um, to go through those thought processes through the
Right.
grieving. Yeah.
Reflect back on
Yeah.
what you, well, again, what your energy was that you brought.
Yeah.
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 And from that place of love. It's just your chapter is just it's beautiful.
Thank you.
I have to say that I loved it. I resonated with a lot of the pieces, even though I haven't experienced those same things that you've gone through, because none of us do. We're all so unique but I did get the privilege part, that when you have like you described, we've got healthy kids, we've got food, we've got a beautiful roof over our head. We can travel, we do all those things, but there's a little bit of that guilt that creeps in. Is like, well, how did I get so lucky?
Yeah. How did I get so
How
lucky?
did I
Yeah.
get so lucky? But and it's coming to that acceptance part of what we can do,
Hmm.
and we're doing it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I really do. I believe that we're all here for a reason, and whatever that reason is the moments. And if we can impact somebody in some moment, then to me our work is done. And we just continue on. And I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to one day having that life review and showing, you know, we're going to see where we could have done better too. But we're also going to see the ripple effect that we make. And
Yeah.
I just know you as a person because I know you personally, that your ripple effect is massive in all the
Mm.
people that you've touched. So
Thanks,
I won't
Carrie.
I won't get into it too much because I'll just start getting too emotional. But yeah, I hope you know that. And if you
Thank you.
don't, you're it's coming because you deserve it for sure. And
Thank
whew, okay, well, maybe we'll wrap it up there. And if people want more of you, then I'm going to suggest that they come to the summit on May the 24th in Qualicum. You're going to be hosting a about a 30-minute workshop there,
you.
and we're going to talk about kindness and ways that we can, the little things that we can do to make a difference.
I'm
And
very excited.
sometimes we just don't know what those little things are. We're going through life and we're going through the motions. Just like I love that you were raised to just look for ways to be kind, look for opportunities where you could help somebody. Like once we start living that way, the opportunities are all around us.
Hmm.
I mean, they are everywhere that you can do one simple act of kindness, and that just became a norm for you.
Yeah.
So you're going to share some of that at the summit, which I'm thrilled about, and I'm just so proud of you, and I'm just
Thank
so
you.
honored to share a chapter in this book with you. So
Yay.
everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you, Heather, for sharing, and I can't
Thanks,
wait
Carrie.
to dive in and for this book to be in the hands of so many people, not just women. Men are reading these books too, and I think they're
That's
gaining a
great.
lot of insight. So. Anyways, yes. Well,
Good.
thank you so much, Heather. And thank you everybody for either watching or listening. And stay tuned for the next episode with another author. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Carrie.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.